sometimes it looks like the scapegoat would be people who make money. Now, some people made money with bailouts. I don't like that. But what if you made money honestly? You know, they become the scapegoats too. But I think that immigrants, illegal immigrants, may receive, and they do receive a lot of hostility now as if they caused the whole problem. But I just think it would be less of a problem if we had a freer market and a healthier economy and rules that were more clarified. But to take somebody that's lived here for 18 years and think that we're solving the problem of America by putting them on an airplane and sending them off someplace, I couldn't accept that.
I'll try to speak up. I know I want to thank you for voting for the Don't Ask, Don't Tell repeal back in 2010, but during one of the presidential debates, all of the candidates have been silent on this, but a soldier was booed simply for being gay and serving in the military. Do you condemn that, or do you think that we should condemn the booing of a soldier simply because of his sexual orientation?
Well, it was inappropriate, obviously.
I mean, every presidential candidate has been kind of silent on that, so I just kind of wanted to hear a condemnation of that.
Since I voted a certain way, I wasn't.
Right.
Exactly. Well, the reason Don't Ask, Don't Tell, it was a challenge because some people, didn't particularly like that vote. The reason I vote that way is because of my understanding of what rights are. Rights, I don't like this idea of calling it gay rights or women's rights or minority rights. We have rights as individuals. And I don't want people to be punished or rewarded because they belong to a certain group. Now, and I've often talked about the military. I made a statement, and I don't have the statistic, but I'll bet I'm correct, that there are probably more heterosexual problems in the military than homosexual problems in the military, just because of the numbers. And there are, there's a lot of harassment going on and pregnancies and everything else. But I think each and every one should be treated the same way. If you're breaking the rules, you're an individual. If you break the rules, you should be punished or whatever. But to say that somebody should either have benefits or punishments because they believe because of some law, no, we should always be treated as an individual, and we can avert getting into some of these problems by saying for so long, minorities were penalized in this country, but flipping it over and saying that they get benefits at the expense of others, that doesn't solve the problem either. We have to think of people as individuals. We get our rights, from my viewpoint, from our Creator, and we have a right to our life and our liberties, and we should not be lumped together in one group. And as long as we talk about groups, and I get so tired of it, that I think it promotes the racism. In some ways, in politics, it's that way all the time. Immediately, the night of the election, well, how did the blacks vote? How did the Hispanics vote? How did the white people vote? Well, I hope someday that we don't answer this question. How did the people vote? People like this cooking now. It is tedious. I've been involved a good while. Like I said, I started in the early 70s, wanting to speak out because I thought these matters were very serious. And last go around, things were rather slow. And then there was one early debate, and I was challenged on foreign policy by somebody called Rudy Giuliani or something like that. So somebody asked me, they were pestering me for the next several days and into that week. So I said, well, how do you put up with this? Does this mean you have to quit? And I said, you know what? I said, I've been trying to get people to pay a little bit of attention and listen to the foreign policy of the Montez College. I said, last week I had more attention I had in 30 years. So And even these last 4 years, I'm always, I understand it, but I'm always impressed and amazed at how much progress we're making. This whole thing that we got the Federal Reserve Board Chairman having press conference, to respond to our complaints about it. So we're making great progress, and nobody knows how quickly things move. And we're at a point now where we're solidly in third place in the 2 early states. And some of the other candidates go up rather suddenly and die rather suddenly too. So who knows what will happen? I don't know how it will turn out exactly, but I do know what I have to do, and I know that there's a lot of people that have sent me a lot of money, and they trust me in delivering this message. And I think that the organizations are very strong, but I would also agree with what you're implying, that we still have a ways to go. So we still have a couple months in politics. Sometimes lots can happen. And right now, to tell you the truth, I'm a lot more optimistic than I ever dreamed I would be even 6 months ago. Well, you want to know about being more aggressive. I personally try not to be too aggressive, and I know some of my supporters would say be more aggressive, but I think aggressive in the sense of raising as much money and being on TV, and I stay pretty busy on an aggressive schedule. So, but I think the message is so powerful. I know my limitations, but I really believe in this message, and I think this is what has given us so much advantage and why people do join us. And I'm encouraged by everybody to join us. But I really love it when I go to big campuses because people respond. But also, it's pretty amazing that my top 3 categories of employment who donates to the campaign come from first the U.S. Air Force, the Army, and the Navy. So, and I get more money from active military people than twice as much as all the other candidates put together. So it tells you that even the military is not all that happy with constantly fighting these wars that seem to have no end. Thank you.
About opting out of certain things. There's a problem right now with a lot of students that are graduate students like that, especially students that are offering a good job after graduating from college. So what would you do to help students maybe opt out of paying for their students?
You have to opt out before you opt in. Well, let me see. $1 trillion, students getting out of college and no jobs. The most important thing to do is pay off the debt. But like you say, where are you going to get the money and how are you going to do it? And the most important thing that we can do in Washington as president or a member of Congress is to change the environment for our economy so that jobs would become available. I met one young lady the other day, and she'd been out of college a couple of years. She has some good jobs right now. And her whole goal is to pay down her debt. She got it figured out, but I think it's like 2.5 years yet to do it. But the mistake was creating these programs. The politicians do that because they say, look at what we're going to give you. We're going to give you free education or a good loan. And it's just a bad system. But there will be some that will opt out, of their mortgages and other things. And the way they do it is they declare bankruptcy. The way they wrote those rules, I think the student has the toughest time of doing that because they protected the banks. See, here they had, it was directing investments to student loans because they were guaranteed by the governments. The banks had a guaranteed profit on it, and a strict rule that meant you can't get out of it. And then they created an environment because of all this stuff. They created an environment there weren't any jobs. This is why the answer really is we need to opt out of government intervention in the economy, and we need a free market. But in the meantime, the only thing that has to be done is not only do the students have to pay down their debt, everybody else has to pay down their debt, and worldwide, it's not going to, in that sense, it's not going to be paid down. Now, what Bernanke is working on, and this might help pay some of this debt down, this is devastating. He should never advocate it, yet he does. And that is, the debt gets liquidated. It never gets paid when governments owe this much money, but they liquidate it by wanting inflation. So if they can get a 50% inflation in the next year or two, our national debt goes down from $15 trillion to $7.5 trillion. So, but the debt goes down in real terms, but still, you end up with the problem, you gotta have a job. And sometimes you just have to take any job you can get and pay it down. But there is a pretty good principle, economic principle as well as a biblical principle. It's stay out of debt the best we can. Thank you very much for coming.